Yes, good afternoon, everybody.
Herkese
We
merhaba.
just concluded a trilateral meeting between
Üçlü görüşme
me,
gerçekleştirdik.
Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, and Turkish Foreign Minister Çavuşoğlu.
Türkiye
It
Cumhuriyeti
lasted for
Dışişleri
about
Bakanı
hour and a
Mevlüt
half.
Çavuşoğlu,
And
Rus
first of
Dışişleri
all, I would
Bakanı
like to thank
Sergey
Minister
Lavrov'la
Çavuşoğlu
birlikte
for
yaklaşık bir yarım
putting
saatten
this
fazladır
meeting together.
üçlü toplantı
It was not
gerçekleştirdik.
easy,
En başta Sayın
but
Çavuşoğlu'na çok teşekkür etmek
he
istiyorum.
succeeded
Kolay değildi
in
gerçekten de.
facilitating this
Fakat
contact, this first ever contact between
teması
Russian
kolaylaştırmayı
and
başardım.
Ukrainian foreign
Rusya
ministers
ve
since
Ukrayna
the beginning
Dışişleri
of the Russian
Bakanları
aggression
arasındaki
against
ilk temas.
Ukraine.
Bildiğiniz
This
gibi
meeting
Rusya'nın
was both,
saldırılarının başlamasından bu yana
this
gerçekleşen
conversation
ilk
was
temas
both
oldu. Bunu gerçekleştirdi
easy
Türkiye Cumhuriyeti.
and difficult.
Aslında hem kolay hem de zor bir
Easy
görüşme
because
oldu.
Minister
Neden
Lavrov
kolaydı? Çünkü
basically
Sayın
followed
Bakan
his
Lavrov
traditional narratives
geleneksel
about Ukraine.
anlatılarını sürdürdü Ukrayna ile
Difficult
ilgili de.
because
Zordu çünkü
I did my best
ben de
to
aslında elimden
at
gelenin
least
en iyisini yaptım.
find a diplomatic solution
En azından
to
diplomatik
the
bir çözüm
humanitarian
bulmaya
tragedy
çalıştım. Çünkü
unfolding
insani bir
in
trajedi yaşanıyor.
on the battleground and in the
Bildiğiniz gibi
besieged cities.
hem işgal altında olan kentlerde hem de
The most
savaşın sürdüğü cephelerde.
tragic
insani
situation
trajediyi
is currently
sonlandırmak için
now in the
diplomatik
city of Mariupol.
yolları arama konusunda en iyisini
On
yaptım.
the Sea of Azov.
Mariupol'de ve Azak
The city
denizinde
is being bombarded
bildiğiniz
from the
gibi
air.
havadan
It's being hit by
bombalamalar
artillery fire.
gerçekleşiyor. Aynı zamanda ağır
And I
silahlarla
came here
ateş altında
with
bu bölgeler.
a humanitarian purpose.
Ben buraya
To
insani
walk
bir
out from
amaçla
the meeting
geldim.
with the decision
Bu toplantıdaki
to
asıl
arrange a
amacımız
humanitarian
elbette
corridor
insani koridorları
in
düzenlemek,
and from Mariupol.
Mariupol'e
from
giren ve
Mariupol
Mariupol'den
for
çıkan insani koridorları
civilians who
düzenlemekti.
want to flee
Çünkü
this
Mariupol'den gitmek isteyen ve
area
bu alandan kaçmak
of
isteyen
fear and
siviller
struggle,
var. Buradaki korkudan,
and
buradaki
humanitarian
mücadeleden
corridor to
kaçmak
bring
isteyenler var.
in
Ve insani
Mariupol
koridor,
humanitarian aid.
Mariupol'de insani yardım
Unfortunately, Minister Lavrov was
amaçlarıyla
not in a
kurulacak.
position to
Bu amaçla
commit
geldim.
himself
Fakat
to it,
Sayın
but
Lavrov buna
he
bir taahhüt vermedi
will
kendisi.
correspond with respective authorities on
İlgili
this issue.
yetkililerle bu konuyla ilgili konuşacağını belirtti.
We also raised
Bir
the
de
issue of a ceasefire,
buradaki ateşkes
24-hour
konusunu da
ceasefire,
konuştuk. Yaklaşık
to
24 saat
resolve the most pressing
en önemli,
humanitarian issues.
en önemli insani konulardan biri bildiğiniz.
We did not make progress on this since it seems that there are other decision makers for this matter in Russia. We agreed to continue efforts to seek a solution to the humanitarian issues on the ground. I will be ready to meet again in this format if there are prospects for a substantial discussion and for seeking solutions. I believe that when two foreign ministers meet, they have, by definition, the mandate to negotiate issues of peace, security, the mandate entrusted in them by their leaders, by their parliaments. And I'm ready to continue this engagement with the purpose of ending the war in Ukraine, stopping the suffering of Ukrainian civilians, and liberating our territories from the Russian occupying force. I will now say a couple of words in Ukrainian for Ukrainian cameras. Доброго дня. Була майже півтора години розмова між мною і міністром Лавровим за посередництва міністра закордонних справ Туреччини Мевлюта Чавушоглу. Міністр Чавушоглу продемонстрував дійсно те, що називається добрі послуги і високий професіоналізм у намаганні зблизити позиції двох сторін. Я приїхав на ці переговори з двома задачами. Перше – це організувати гуманітарний коридор з та до Маріуполя. Це найбільш зараз важке місто з точки зору гуманітарного становища. І друге – це домовитися про принаймні 24-годинне перемир'я для вирішення усіх нагальних потреб людей, які захоплені війною. Щодо першого питання, я щиро сподіваюся, що міністр Лавров проведе комунікацію з тими в Росії, хто ухвалює такі рішення, і гуманітарний коридор все-таки запрацює. Я зберігаю надію, що Російська Федерація суто з людських міркувань, з людського співчуття до тих, хто страждає від їхніх куль, від їхніх бомб в Маріуполі, в тому числі немовлят, тисячі з яких перебувають зараз на грані смерті через відсутність необхідних медикаментів, то хоча б з цих міркувань вони дозволять функціонування гуманітарного коридору з Маріуполя, так само, як гуманітарні коридори, які працюють, наприклад, з напрямку Сум до Полтави. Ми не можемо зупинити війну, якщо у країни, яка здійснила агресію, напад, не мають бажання цього робити. Сьогодні я почув, що припинення вогню прив'язане Російською Федерацією до виконання вимог, висунутих президентом Путіним на адресу України. І у зв'язку з цим я хочу підтвердити ще раз, що Україна не здалася, не здається і не здасться. Ми готові до дипломатії, ми шукаємо дипломатичні рішення, але поки їх немає, ми будемо віддано, самовіддано, жертвуючи собою, захищати нашу землю, наших людей від російської агресії. Сподіваюся, що формат, який сьогодні відбувся, матиме продовження. Я готовий до нього, якщо російська сторона буде готова до серйозної, предметної розмови, а не повторення широко розповсюджених і вживаних пропагандистських штампів та наративів про Україну. Все, що нам потрібно сьогодні, це розмова серйозна, предметна, без кліше. Коли російська сторона буде готова до такої розмови, я теж буду готовий її продовжити. Ми зробимо все для миру, для порятунку життя наших громадян, тому що життя людини для нас є головною цінністю. Дякую.
So the first question goes to Anadolu Agency. Please, Anadolu, please stand up.
Олег.
The mic is coming. Yeah, the microphone is coming.
Thank you, Mr. Foreign Minister. My first question is actually about your recent meeting, as you just talked about. Did you get an impression that this attacks will continue from your talks after this meeting? And it also leads to my next question, which is, have you received a promise or a promise about receiving any military jets from the US or any country from the West to continue your struggle against in this war? Thank you.
No, we did not discuss military supplies to Ukraine. Upon my initiative, we dedicated most of the time to addressing humanitarian issues on the ground, because I believe this is it is the utmost priority for diplomacy to bring relief to everyone who is suffering. And I appealed to Minister Lavrov in the most constructive way, though it was not easy for me all the time to listen to what he was saying, but I appealed to him a number of times with the request to address urgently the humanitarian issues. When it comes to the first part of the question, my impression is that Russia is not in a position at this point to establish a ceasefire. They seek a surrender from Ukraine, but this is not what they are going to get. Ukraine is strong, Ukraine is fighting, Ukraine made Russian initial plans fail. We are ready to seek balanced diplomatic solutions to put an end to this war, but we will not surrender.
Mr. Kaleba, Tom Bateman of the BBC, thank you very much for doing this. Can I ask you first about the issue of a 24-hour ceasefire? You said there that Mr. Lavrov was not in a position or was not the decision maker, but that he would go and ask the question. Do you have any confidence there can now be a 24-hour ceasefire? And can I ask you about the wider issues? Because we know that Mr. Peskov, for example, was saying that the fighting, the invasion will stop if there is a commitment by Ukraine not to join NATO, to recognize the regions in the east as independent. Was there any discussion? Did the Russians ask you about these wider issues? And are you prepared to make any concessions on those?
No, Minister Lavrov said that all of these issues should be discussed on a different track, the so-called Belarus talks. And he did not go into details on this issue, but the broad narrative that he conveyed to me is that they will continue their aggression until Ukraine meets their demands. And the list of those demands is a surrender, and this is why it's not why it is not acceptable to us. The last thing I want today is to kill hope in the civilians who suffer from Russian air raids, bombardments, and the behavior of and the killings committed by Russian army on the ground. I shared with Minister Lavrov one episode in the hope that he would respond to it constructively, based on simple human values and respect for human life, about the murder of a civilian who was driving in a car. He made a wrong turn and was immediately shot by the Russian soldiers firing from a gun machine. These things must be stopped. These are the war crimes. And everyone involved in them will bear responsibility eventually. I sincerely hope that Minister Lavrov will follow up today's conversations with his colleagues in the Russian government, in the Russian army, and they will hear the plea of civilians, thousands of civilians, on whose behalf I spoke with him today, and help arrange a safe passage for them from the besieged cities, first and foremost from Mariupol, as well as to provide, to allow the provision of humanitarian aid to Mariupol.
Next question goes to Reuters, please.
Mr. Minister, thank you. Ukraine's leadership has talked about pursuing some non-NATO models to resolve the conflict if it receives certain security guarantees. During your meeting with Foreign Minister Lavrov, did any issues about Ukraine's status come up? And secondly, did Minister Lavrov set out any red lines, such as insisting Ukraine disarms or recognizes Russian sovereignty in the Donbass region during your talks? And what did you respond to this? Thank you very much.
He mentioned it very briefly without going into discussion again. He insists that these issues should be discussed between two delegations in what is called the Belarus talks. I said openly to him that, in my view, foreign ministers are invested with the powers to discuss any kind of issues and to seek all necessary solutions. However, it seems that he has a different impression about the role of a foreign minister in this crisis. So we did not engage into a specific discussion on this matter.
Next is Ukrinform.
Ольга Будник, Укрінформ. Пане міністре, гендиректор МАГАТЕ має намір приїхати на Анталійський форум. Чи матимете ви з ним зустріч? І взагалі на зустрічі з Лавровим, чи йшла мова про безпеку ядерних об'єктів? І чи продовжує Росія погрожувати своєю ядерною кнопкою?
Так, наприкінці зустрічі міністр Лавров порушив тему ядерної безпеки. Він хоче провести, він висловився на користь проведення тристоронніх консультацій між експертами МАГАТЕ, українськими та російськими ядерниками. Я відповів йому, що до приходу російських солдат на територію України все було в порядку з нашими ядерними об'єктами, з нашими атомними електростанціями. Вони функціонували надійно, і Україна взагалі завжди була і є відповідальним учасником всіх механізмів верифікації МАГАТЕ та договору про нерозповсюдження ядерної зброї. Вся ця брехня, яку вони розповсюджують про те, що вони знайшли в Україні якісь там сліди розробки ядерної зброї, це просто брехня. Жоден міжнародний орган, жодна міжнародна інспекція нічого подібного ніколи не бачила, тому що нічого такого в Україні не відбувалося. Тому найкраще, що може зробити зараз Росія, це вивести своїх солдатів з території Чорнобиля, з території Запорізької атомної електростанції, дозволити персоналу їх обслуговувати відповідним чином, а експертам МАГАТЕ відвідати їх та контролювати, щоб все було нормально. Будь-які посягання на суверенну владу України на її території, яка стосується ядерних об'єктів, є неприпустимими. І якщо будь-яка модель, якщо хтось буде нам нав'язувати модель, за якою ми маємо визнати якесь тимчасове управління в тій чи іншій формі росіянами нашими ядерними об'єктами, то ми це відкинемо, тому що це так не працює. Коротко кажучи, Росія має демілітаризувати ядерні об'єкти, які вона зараз намагається контролювати, і відмовитися від будь-яких атак і спроб захоплення інших ядерних об'єктів або об'єктів газової інфраструктури, до речі, теж саме, тому що вони можуть поставити під сумнів функціонування ГТС, захоплюючи окремі її вузли. Ми відкриті до розмови з МАГАТЕ, але на тих принципах, які я позначив.
The next question goes to France 24.
Hi, Ludovic de Foucault, France 24. Thank you very much for doing this. Again, on the humanitarian level, because I understand this was really the focus of the meeting on your part, what concrete steps do you expect Russia to take in the next few days? What was your concrete demands, and what do you expect? Do you think that Mr. Lavrov was able to commit himself to take concrete steps in order to ease the humanitarian situation? Thank you.
In the meeting, I made a very simple proposal. I said, we all have our smartphones with us. Well, probably Minister Lavrov has his last iPhone, but that's another story. And I said, I can call my officials right away, my president, my prime minister, my commander-in-chief, and I give you 100% that they will provide all assurances that humanitarian corridors will work. I'm ready to do it right now, right here, in your presence. Can you do the same? Can you make the call? I'm sure you have all of them in the phone book. He did not respond to that. But I still hope that out of humanitarian considerations, he will follow up our conversation by reaching out to his colleagues in charge who can make decisions in this field. Again, we came to these meetings with different assumptions. I came as a foreign minister who is entrusted to seek solutions and make decisions. He, as he said, came to listen. This is the difference in approaches. I was ready to make all necessary calls right away to arrange a humanitarian corridor from Mariupol. I proposed it. My proposal was not followed by, was not supported by Minister Lavrov, but again, I still hope that at least he will do it after leaving the room of negotiations.
Okay, we have time for the last question. Please, Daily Sabah.
Mr. Minister, the ruling party in Ukraine raised a new proposal, a security agreement in which Turkey and the United States could be guarantor countries. What is your view on the issue, and was this issue raised during the trilateral meeting? Thank you.
No, we did not discuss this issue during the trilateral meeting, though I was ready to do it, but Minister Lavrov had no interest in discussing it. Again, he referred these kind of issues to the Belarusian track of talks between two working groups. The idea that you referred to is very simple. Yes, it is written in our constitution, and it has been consistent part of it has been our consistent policy to eventually join NATO as a full member and enjoy security guarantees provided by the NATO Charter, North Atlantic Charter. However, we understand that this is not going to happen in a blink of an eye, not even in a foreseeable future. We also see from the reaction of NATO as an alliance to the Russian aggression against Ukraine that NATO is not ready to act collectively to stop the war and protect civilians in Ukraine from Russian air raids. It delegated the authority to help to member states to do it on a bilateral basis. This poses a question: how to ensure security of Ukraine between now and the eventual membership in NATO? This is the question. What my constitution says something, and I cannot speak against my constitution. But if we could reach an agreement where a similar system of guarantees as envisaged by the North Atlantic Charter could be granted to Ukraine by permanent members of the UN Security Council, including Russia, of course, by Turkey as a big friend and neighboring country, by all our neighbors, this is something that we are ready to discuss. This is the idea. The war is happening now. Ukraine exists in a security vacuum. We have to think creatively on how to address this issue and ensure our security. So far, it's our army that ensures our security. It's the people of Ukraine who are sacrificing themselves to ensure security of our country, and it's a list of partners, including Turkey, who are helping us with that. But this has to be put on a systemic, sustainable basis. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. Stay safe. All the best.